Yo, what up? My name is Ariki, and guys, I have a confession to make. I can't sleep at night.
It's a me, Mario. Hey, hello, Yahoo! Let's go. Bye-bye. Hey, just what I needed. Here I go. Hey, waha! Here I go. Hey, Yahoo! Hello, Yahoo! Let's go. Bye-bye. Hey, just what I needed. Here I go. Super Mario!
I haven't slept in days. Super Mario Brothers. Ugh, yawn. Boring. You're telling me all I can do is go from the left to the right and maybe, just maybe, go up and down? That's it? You know, this graph is kind of cool with, the x-axis and the y-axis and all, but what if we added another one? Super Mario 64. Now this right here is a game that might not even need an introduction, to be honest. You know this game. You see, I want to open by discussing this game's impact on the video game industry and how this game is responsible for 3D gaming even existing as it does today, but you might and probably do already know that. I know there's definitely some watching at home who might not know much about this game at all and might have only just seen it, and I know some of you already know everything there is to know about this game and then some. For those who aren't in the know, however, this was the very first Mario game in 3D. Now, can you imagine living your entire life with video games that look like this? And then suddenly, in only the span of a few years, they start looking like this? I know me personally, I'd be like, whoa, pump the brakes. What happened to this? Like, imagine showing this to a kid during the 80s. They die. And just a quick side note, I feel we kind of take for granted how quickly video games evolved in the 80s and 90s. Like, compare the Super Nintendo to the Nintendo 64, and then compare the PS4 to the PS5. You see what I mean? Back then, developers were making monumental jumps in hardware, design, and visuals. It's insane to think about nowadays, where some will say there's not really much to improve on the way video games look today. That's all just to put into perspective what it might have been like playing a game like Mario 64 and other early 3D titles like it for the very first time. Super Mario 64 is one of those games that the web has been obsessed with for decades at this point. Countless fan-made ROM hacks, tributes, reviews, mods, let's plays, creepypastas, memes, animations. Suffice to say, this game is pretty iconic and well remembered. But most people who come online and talk about how revolutionary of a game Super Mario 64 was are old as dirt. Man, y'all kids don't even know how it used to be back in the day, man. Look, I remember you used to have to blow into the cartridge like this. Blow into it. That was the only way you could get this junk to work, man. Man, that was real gaming right here, man. What y'all kids got nowadays, man?
All right, Grandpa, can you please take your meds?
That don't even matter, man, because I remember back in the day, we ain't had them little fancy first-person shooters and junk, that Minecraft and stuff. Man, all we had was Mario and Zelda and Castlevania. Man, that was real gaming, man. And look, I'm just kidding, but really, I've always felt like most of the commentary on this game for a while now has only really come from people who grew up on it. For comparison, don't laugh, I was born in 2007. I am younger than the Nintendo Wii, the first iPhone, and this game right here predates me by 11 years. So I think it's pretty safe to say by the time I actually got around to experiencing this game, I was pretty late to the party. However, despite that, I still feel like someone of my age would perhaps have some slightly different things to say about a game like this, coming from someone who played it during a time where Mario was long past this era. Like, let me just put this into perspective for you guys. Super Mario 64 is to older folks what a game like, I don't know, Super Mario 3D Land is to me. And I know some people watching might relate to that, and some might have just cringed at that, but it is true. One thing I do know is that, like I said before, this game has had a chokehold on the internet in a way that no other 3D Mario game really has. For as long as I've been on the web, this game has been pretty inescapable. You don't really see a game like Mario Sunshine getting the same treatment as 64 does. Maybe that's for a separate reason, but it's besides the point. This game is the pure definition of legacy. It's obvious that this game means a lot to so many people around the globe. My question is, why do so many people love this old game so much? Why does it seem to receive such special treatment? For a game so dated, why does it still remain relevant 3 whole decades after its initial release? Well, shoot, today I want to give Super Mario 64 a fair retrospective, from the perspective of someone a lot younger who wasn't really around during its initial release all the way back in 1996.
So I guess the question is, will my opinions differ from the masses, or does this game really just transcend generations? Well, let me play the game first before I take it out to dinner, am I right?
Firstly, how did we even get here? Well, I'm glad you asked. Let me take you back in time. As you know, before the advent of 3D, 2D games reigned supreme. Sure, sometimes games would get a little antsy and incorporate 3D aspects in special ways, like Donkey Kong Country having 2D images that gave the illusion of them being 3D models, but make no mistake, this game is still two-dimensional. Now, a game like Star Fox can be considered more of a 3D game, but we still weren't quite there yet. However, towards the end of the third generation, a change was imminent. The industry was beginning to veer towards more actual real 3D games with real three-dimensional movements and models. Sega came out with the Sega Saturn, Sony with the PlayStation 1, but no word from Nintendo yet. Hello, we need a console, I want to play Mario in 3D. Now, Nintendo had dabbled in 3D before.
I'ma bet you can't do this. Whee! My nose feels funny against this screen. Have you seen Luigi? Have you seen the princess? Princess! Are you ready to Mario time?
In 1992, at the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas, Nintendo had a booth up where they had this 3D Mario head who would talk and interact with people. So this is one of our earliest representations of Mario in 3D, no matter how scary it is. For Nintendo and Mario's creator Shigeru Miyamoto at the time, there was not really much to work off of when tackling the task of developing a Mario game in 3D. 3D gaming was in such an early state that game companies were mostly in the dark when it came to knowing what worked and what didn't. That's why you see a lot of franchises struggle to make the transition. I mean, it can be pretty difficult to try and make something you know works in 2D work in the third dimension. Coming on the coattails of Mario's last console title, Super Mario World, consumers were eager to see just what exactly Mario would have to offer in 3D. And at 1995's Nintendo Space World, an event Nintendo used to hold in the 90s to showcase the new products, an extremely early beta version of Mario 64 was finally made available for attendance to play. Now that is just so cool. Imagine being one of the first people to ever experience such a revolutionary game like this. Now, it's pretty apparent that the game was still in very early development, but nobody playing it knew it at the time, man. This game looked mesmerizing. And not only was this the first time the public got to experience Super Mario 64, but also the Nintendo 64 as a console. I mean, just wow, what a day. When the N64 officially came out with Mario 64 as a launch title, it sold like hotcakes. This game was an instant classic and captivated gamers young and old. I mean, of course, this would be a bestseller though, it's Mario after all. But customers were really eager to get their hands on a game like this. Who could blame them really? And the rest is history after that. 3D gaming would never be the same.
Growing up, I would always see YouTube videos of the original Mario 64. And despite me growing up in a time where Mario looked a lot better than this game still captivated me and I always really wanted to play it.
I don't even know, man. Something about the music, the low polygon art style, and the general mystery that surrounded this game for me made me desperately want to experience it. So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let me get a drum roll, please.
It's me, Mario. Hello.
Dang. Why, hello, Mario. I didn't know you were this handsome. The first thing this game greets you with when booting it up is a 3D Mario head that you can play around with while Mario agonizingly watches everything you're doing to him while pretending to smile. For 1996, man, this is pretty cool. This had to have been insane to witness. Nintendo really wanted to flex the capabilities of the N64 right out of the gate. And I don't blame them, because for the time, this must have been mind-blowing to look and interact with. Like, I wonder how kids in the 90s reacted to this for the first time. They probably died. And also, Mario has a voice now? Yeah, so while this game was not the first time Charles Martinet had voiced Mario, this was the very first time many people had ever heard his Mario voice before. Before, most depictions of Mario would give him a deep Italian New Yorker accent or nothing at all, but we have Mario 64 to thank for cementing the way we all know Mario sounds like today.
While unfortunately Charles Martinet has stepped down from the voice of Mario, he is still fondly remembered for making the character into who he is today.
Dear Mario, please come to the castle. I have baked a cake for you. Yours truly, Princess Toadstool. Peach.
Oh, for real? Say less. This game opens up with Princess Peach inviting you over to the castle for a cake, and then we get a cutscene of the outside of Peach's castle as Lakitu makes his way over to a pipe out of the ground, and then out comes Mario. Dang, y'all see how high he jumped out of that pipe? What cake could possibly be that good? This whole intro sequence is extremely nostalgic for me. For me personally, this is one of my favorite openings to any video game ever. From the music to the camera giving us a tour of the outside of the castle, all leading up to the reveal of Mario. It's simple yet engaging, especially on your first playthrough. And the outside of Peach's castle gives us a lot of space to experiment in this new 3D environment. Of course, Mario can jump, he's been doing that, but he can also do a lot more. He can ground pound, long jump, triple jump, bounce off of walls, kick, punch, somersault. They gave him so many new moves in this game, it's insane. Walk into the castle and yeah, Bowser kidnapped the princess again. Oh my gosh, no way! And the inside of Peach's castle serves as our hub in this game, with these doors leading to actual stages. We stay inside of Peach's castle the entire game, which is a lot different from how every other Mario game functioned up until this point. Usually you just go from one level to the next without a general hub where you can access every level at once. The only instance I can really think of something similar would be Super Mario Land 2 for the Game Boy, but nobody cares about that game.
It's okay. I still love you.
I love Peach's castle, man. I think this hub is so cool. First off, that theme, beautiful. Secondly, they make this castle seem so big. There's so many rooms and levels to it that it feels like there's always something here that you haven't discovered yet. And chances are on your first playthrough, there is. But yeah, we can access rooms with paintings in them that we can jump into. Each stage has a number of specific stars or missions to complete throughout, where the goal is to have Mario do whatever he needs to do to collect a star. Whether that'd be fighting a huge bomb by throwing him on its back, or following an eel with a star on its back, hey man, you do what you gotta do. In total, there are 120 stars in this game that you can collect, but you only really need 70 to actually beat the game. This playthrough I decided to go for all 120 of them, to my dismay, but truthfully speaking, getting every single star in this game might sound pretty intimidating on your first playthrough, but once you've played this game enough, you'll realize it's not all that bad. Now Mario Sunshine, that's another story. You'll see each door around the castle has a number on it, representing how many stars you need to have to access the room. In this first floor, we can access Bob-Omb Battlefield, Womp's Fortress, Jolly Roger Bay, and Cool Mountain. In the early game, there are a lot of boss fights like King Bob-Omb and Bob-Omb Battlefield and the Womp and Womp's Fortress, and these bosses do a pretty good job of showing you certain moves Mario can do that you might not have been using up until this point, like having to pick up a bomb and throw him on its back, or having a ground pound on Womp. Now that is a pretty smart way of showing the player how to utilize their arsenal in a fun way. And man, I love a lot of these early game missions, like having to race Koopa the Quick to the top of the mountain, having to have this bird drop you into this cage with a star in it, having to return this baby penguin to their mom, or not. My whole life, I've been training for this moment. I will get my revenge. One thing this game gets a lot of praise for is the freedom it grants you as a player. Like I said before, it's not as linear as 2D Mario is. You don't have to collect every single star in the game. Like I said, out of 120, all you really need is 70 minimum. So if you can't figure out what to do on Big Boo's Haunt, you can go race the penguin in Cool Mountain. Hazy Maze Cave just a little too difficult for you? Or you can go steal a star from this bird in Shifting Sandland. Can't get a single star in Tick-Tock Clock because this stage is literally impossible? Then I think it's time to turn off the game, go outside, and realize there's a lot more to life than video games. There are 3 Bowser fights in this game, each rewarding you with the key that advances you to different levels of the castle. Now I'm not gonna lie, this first Bowser stage scared the mess out of me when I was a kid, putting my childhood fears away. It's actually kind of an awesome stage. The music coupled with this being your first time encountering Bowser in the game, along with this backdrop, creates a certain atmosphere that cannot be described. And to be honest, that's probably why I've always found myself drawn to this game. Its ability to create atmosphere, especially with the soundtrack. From typical upbeat, lively Mario music for the sunny green stages, to the serene and world sounding music of Peach's castle, to the eeriness and creepiness of Big Boo's Haunt. Now that I think about it, this game does a really good job of immersing you into every single stage. Like for stages like Rainbow Ride and Tick-Tock Clock, where they're kind of designed like parkour areas with tricky platforming and moving objects, we get an upbeat but fast sounding theme that perfectly encapsulates the feeling this level wants you to feel. Yeah, this level's fun, but we gotta get a move on here. We got places to be, people. Come on, what's going on? Move it! And then in levels like Wet Dry World and Hazy Maze Cave, we get this theme that I can only describe as music for figuring something out. That probably isn't the best way to describe it, but the song just sounds like something that would play when you're going through a maze or something. Hence the stage being called Hazy Maze Cave. See what I did there? Both of these stages have certain sections that can be tricky to figure out, so I think the song fits perfectly. But if we're talking about atmosphere in this game, nothing tops the water levels. Jolly Roger Bay is my second favorite stage in this game by far. Just listen to this theme. I've absolutely loved this song ever since the first time I heard it. I couldn't imagine a better fitting song to play while I'm getting eaten alive by an actual eel. I say Jolly Roger Bay is my second favorite because Hazy Maze Cave conquers all for me. First of all, the way you access this stage is weird to begin with. Instead of a painting like every other stage, it's just some huge portal in its own room. Like, Peach, why is this in your castle? And it's like an eerie underground area with creepy spiders and eyeballs. Like, what is this? We meet this aquatic creature named Dory in this stage. Look, he's adorable. Peach, why is this in your castle?
Okay, put a painting of Mario right there, a painting of a Goomba over there, a secret portal leading to an underground cave with demons and spiders right there.
And most importantly, this stage introduces the metal cap, which turns Mario into an absolute tank and lets him walk underwater. The metal cap is awesome, I don't care what you say. If you have an issue, you can email me at metalheartformario@gmail.com. And the metal cap isn't the only special cap in this game. We can also get the wing cap, which lets Mario fly, and the vanish cap, which is pretty self-explanatory. I'm not gonna lie, the wing cap is a B to control, man. I've never been good with this thing. I've always felt like it doesn't really let you move as much as you'd want it to. It feels super stiff to control, especially with the original N64 analog stick. The vanish cap is pretty cool too, but correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you use this cap the least in this game. Now, if you were to ask me what the hardest stage in this game would be, it'd be a pretty close choice between Lethal Lava Land and Shifting Sand Land. On every playthrough, without fail, these two stages tend to eat away at my lives. Lethal Lava Land just has lava everywhere, go figure. And Shifting Sand Land is just stupid. There are just too many ways to die here. There's quicksand everywhere, and I really mean everywhere. Small mobile tornadoes, shy guys who shoot fire at you, giant rolling cubes that will crush you. I think you can tell I'm not a fan. And the inside of the pyramid isn't much better. This game does not control well enough for this kind of platforming. While yes, for the time these were the best controls any 3D platformer could give you, there's still a moderate level of 1996 jank that you cannot get around. The camera doesn't help either. Sometimes it just doesn't cooperate at all. Let's be fair though, all of those issues can be chalked up to this game being the first of its kind. I mean, we can't expect them to have gotten it right perfectly off rip. But looking through the lens of someone a lot younger who wasn't really around during this game's initial release, I can see how these cameras and controls can be a little jarring, especially coming from newer 3D Marios like Galaxy, which in my opinion got the camera and controls just right. You can say the same thing about the visuals. Most N64 games are a weird hodgepodge of 3D models with 2D textures put together. The N64 couldn't really handle having everything on screen be a 3D model. It makes sense and some might not even notice it, but if you do, it's kind of hard to unnotice, you know what I mean? And of course, the low poly look of this game might put a lot of people off. Most will tell you that the visuals of the N64 haven't really aged as gracefully as the retro 2D look of the NES and Super Nintendo. But from what I've seen, people tend to not really mind the low polygon-ness of this game, and some might even love the way it looks, probably because it's so nostalgic. And speaking of low polygons, Bowser, is that you? Man, you looking a little different. Bowser's boss fights in this game aren't anything too crazy. Just spin him around into these spike bombs and you're good. Yeah, no, just have these objects floating around your platform that Mario can easily throw you into. No, that makes sense. Just have an axe behind you that Mario can easily grab and cut off the bridge you're standing on. No, that makes sense. Don't even worry about it. That makes sense. Don't even worry about it, Bowser. That makes total complete sense. Everybody always overhypes Big Boo's haunt. It makes it seem like this is literally the scariest video game stage ever. Personally, I've never really found it all that scary, especially this piano that everybody always talks about like, oh my gosh, it's alive. I'll just go around. But for the longest time, I'd always see people reference this part and how it traumatized them when they were kids. People would really be going crazy over this thing. Like, when I was 6 and I ran into the sentient piano in Mario 64, my whole life trajectory was altered. But this stage overall is pretty cool. I've always really liked the vibe it gives off. To be honest, I don't think there's a single stage in this game I adamantly dislike. I maybe could have done without Snowman's Land, but even then I still enjoyed it. Like, okay, I don't mind Snowman's Land, but I just kind of feel like it probably could have been omitted. It is way too similar to Cool Cool Mountain, and they didn't even give this stage a painting. It's literally just a wall that you jump into. Because this stage is so similar to Cool Cool Mountain, I just feel like it doesn't really stand out all that much. Tiny Huge Island is a nice callback to that one world in Mario 3 where you can go into a pipe and everything goes from being regular size size to huge, it's the same concept here. There's a boss fight in this stage with this Wiggler who is justifiably mad at Mario for literally flooding his home with water. He even says during the fight, "First you get me all wet, then you stomp on me?" Mario's really not a good person. I don't know why we still support this guy. Everybody hates TikTok Clock, and for good reason. This was one of the hardest stages in this game just because of how it's designed. It's a spiral path going all the way up to the top, but at any moment you could fall off into the abyss right dead center, and it kinda sucks. Once you get used to how the stage controls though, it's not too bad, I guess. Oh yeah, and the red coins. In every stage, usually there's a mission where you have to track down 8 red coins to get a power star, and if you're really dedicated, you can go for 100 regular coins in the stage to gain another power star. 100 coin missions aren't really all that fun, to be honest, and I kind of feel like the developers didn't really think about making this a thing until later in the game, because you can tell a lot of these stages aren't really designed with 100 coin missions in mind. The easiest example I can think of is Dire Docks. I went through this stage getting as many coins as I could see, only to realize the last 5 coins were in the most randomest spot they could have possibly been in. It's like Nintendo realized, oh, we don't have 100 coins in this level, just put some right there. But 100 coin missions are super optional, mind you. Unless you're planning on 100%ing this game like I did, you'll never really have to go for these. Now online, this game has been pretty notorious for being kind of creepy and mysterious at times. For instance, when playing this game, eventually you're gonna wonder, well, where's Luigi? It's kind of a lonely game as Mario just goes through these stages on his own without his brother, who is absolutely nowhere to be seen. The game is titled Super Mario 64, not Super Mario Bros. 64, so where in the world is Luigi? That question has haunted gamers for decades up until one event that we'll get into later. But in the meantime, we gotta find Luigi. I mean, he's gotta be in here somewhere. In this search for the mysterious green mustachioed man, somebody ended up in the courtyard of the castle with this statue with indecipherable text on it. Someone saw this text and came to the conclusion that this texture must read L is real 2401. L is real. L for Luigi, 2401? Now what could that mean? Maybe it means Mario has to run around this statue 2,401 times for Luigi to appear. Maybe it means Mario has to jump 2,401 times for Luigi to appear. Maybe it means you have to insert the cartridge into the console 2,401 times to unlock Luigi. This L is real conspiracy became one of gaming's greatest mysteries, with many online claiming that they actually did unlock Luigi in the game. They were lying. At some point, IGN had put up a bounty on Luigi, offering $100 to anybody who could display concrete real proof that Luigi could be found in the game. But, and not to burst anybody's bubble, but we all know that nowadays there is no legit way of playing as Luigi in the original vanilla version of Mario 64. Someone in 1998 had sent a letter to Nintendo in regards to this mystery, and Nintendo actually responded back stating, "In your letter, you asked us why the L is real message is on the statue. Many people think it's a hint that Luigi is in the game and it has something to do with the special code. The real answer is that the programmers put it in there as a joke. They thought people would try to figure out what it means. It doesn't have any meaning at all. Sincerely, Nintendo of America Incorporated." Wow. A joke? A joke. Years of theories and conspiracies over a joke. Nah, but in hindsight, people really should have realized how silly this theory was sooner. I mean, this exact statue can be found in Zelda Ocarina of Time, for crying out loud. What, does that mean Luigi can be found in this game too? But decades later, in the year of 2020, Nintendo got leaked. In an event that is now referred to as the 2020 Nintendo Giga Leak, a ton of materials that Nintendo had been hiding away in their vault had been exposed to the public. One of these materials being the original source code of Mario 64. And wouldn't you know it, found in the source code of this game? He was there. After 20 years, L really was real the whole time. Wow. Just beautiful. Speaking of mysterious things surrounding this game, people cannot get over Wet Dry World. For one, people just don't like the stage at all just because it's one of the weirder stages in this game, and I get that. But a lot will say that the overall vibe and atmosphere of this level is kind of weird. The skybox is kind of weird too. That background sure looks a lot like a real photo, doesn't it? Well, it actually is. This is a photo of Shaban Yemen, a city in the Middle East. Why and where did Nintendo acquire this photo? We'll never know. But needless to say, it is a little off-putting. But okay, let's get back to the game. You finally have enough stars to face Bowser. You can enter this final boss room at any time, but if you don't have at least 70 stars, this staircase will just loop over and over and over. You know, one of these days, I'm gonna make it. Here we are. After all of that training, after all of those long jumps, backflips, somersaults, deaths, it's time. 1, 2, 3. Dang, that was kind of easier than I expected. And that's it. Collect the final power star and your adventure is complete. You fly back to the castle where Princess Peach is now free. And all you get for all of that is a little peck on the nose.
Here we go!
At least he's happy. Super Mario 64 is one of those games that I don't even think I need to play looking through a certain lens. I know in the beginning I emphasized the fact that I was playing this game through the lens of someone who wasn't around during the initial release of the game, but even then I still find myself agreeing that this game is still really good. But let's not get too ahead of ourselves here. When looking through the lens of someone younger who has experienced the heights 3D Mario would eventually reach, there is an argument to be made that this game has aged poorly. The camera and controls are pretty janky, the visuals while charming can put off some, a lot of assets are reused. A lot of people will come to the conclusion that this game is only held to the pedestal it's on because of nostalgia. Heck, when this game was re-released in Super Mario 3D All-Stars for the Switch, a lot of people got to experience 64 for the first time, and a lot of people came to the internet to voice how they felt this game was overrated and too old for its own good. But comparing those cons to all of those pros, it's like not even a competition. And those cons only really come from the fact that this game was the first of its kind. This is one of the first 3D platformers, at least of decent quality. This game has amazing settings, an extremely well composed soundtrack, memorable missions, and above all, the game is just fun. There was never a moment in this playthrough where I wasn't having fun. Sure, there's been better 3D Marios, much better, but I believe no matter what age you are or what games you've played in the past, you can enjoy Super Mario 64. There's a comment saying that what Mario did for 2D platformers in 1985, he did the exact same thing for 3D platformers in 1996. And to be honest, I agree with that statement wholeheartedly. Once again, Nintendo had turned the industry on its head, treading uncharted territory and creating instant classics like it was nothing. Say what you will about Nintendo, but one thing you can never deny is their ability to innovate. We take this game for granted now because we've had it for so long, but as you probably already know, gaming would be a lot different if this game never happened. And even looking at this game at face value, through the lens of someone in our current day, it's still just a fun game, man. And hey, if the issues like the visual style of the game really put you off, there's so many fan-made mods you can easily install to remedy that. I mean, this game has been natively ported to basically any console you could think of running it, including the PC. It is now easier than ever to access this game. I played the version in Super Mario 3D All-Stars on the Switch, which is a bit controversial because of a few changes they made, but make no mistake, this version of the game is still very serviceable if you've never played the game before. And plus, it's most likely the most accessible to you. But yeah, I've said pretty much all I can say about this game. I absolutely love it. If you've never played Super Mario 64 before, by all means, please try it out. I hope today I've inspired you to at least give this game a fair shot. It holds a special place in not only my heart, but the hearts of millions of gamers around the world. Oh, and what about Super Mario 64 DS, I hear you ask? Actually, wait, I didn't hear you ask that, did I? Okay, now that that's over, if you would excuse me, I'm gonna go get some well-deserved sleep, right? I'll talk to you later, though. It was nice seeing you, though. It really was. I'll see you later, though. You want fun? Wario show you fun. Welcome to Wario World. Though I missed, obey Wario, destroy Mario. Wario.